Yeah, MLB Data Warehouse. Where the spreadsheets flow and the takes get spicy. John, Tim, Doc, let's go. Welcome to the warehouse. Stat stack to the ceilings. Exit below's flying. Launch angles got a feeling. Tim in the corner with the prospect report. Reading fan graphs, blurbs like it's soft core sport. Junior in double A, Tim's losing.
Welcome to the Prospect Warehouse Podcast. As your host, Tim Kanak. You can find me on X at Fantasy Aceball. And today we have a special show for you. I'm gonna leave my two co-hosts in the dust here, and I'm gonna tell you who our main guy is here. We got Travis Sykora with the Washington Nationals on this program. And Travis, you are still a favorite of our show here because I still have you. Despite injury, I'm like, I don't care that he got hurt. You're still a top 25 prospect in my mind, man. Like, I don't care about injuries. You're too good for that. So how you doing, Travis? Welcome to the show.
No, I appreciate it. No, I'm doing good. Just getting through the rehab, kind of on the tail end of it and ready to start competing.
All right. So with us today, we also have the master, John Anderson himself at John PGH, and our boy, Doc Eisenhower at Doc Eisenhower on the X. All right, Doc, I know you set this whole thing up with Mr. Travis here. So why don't you lead off? I know you got some nice little questions that you want to ask Travis, and we probably all do.
Yeah, well, let's have some fun today, man. I'm wearing that Buc-ee's. 82,
Dude,
brother.
I know. I saw that.
It's kind of slick, and I also got this going. This wasn't. I didn't buy this for the show. I got this at the game, dog. You got to do a rehab stint in Fredericksburg, where it all began. I know. We're not. You're not going to be there for more than one rehab start, just so we can hang out. But I was there last night. But yeah, man, this is great to have you on here. Honored to do it. How to reach out to you, because here's the thing. People are forgetting, and they can't forget that. You know, what is that? Forgot about Dre. Don't forget about. I don't know how to short form support.
Makes fun of the rap intro. Doc hates the rap intro, and then he.
No, I'm like a country guy. I would like write you a huge whiskey drinking song about it. Yeah. But yeah, man. I just thought if I don't finally message Travis Sykora, it's been on my mind for a little while. I said this is just not going to work out. He's going to become the obvious number one pitching prospect, and then beyond that, he's going to be in the MLB. He's going to be in the show. So. Thanks for coming on, brother. First of all, how you doing today?
Doing good. Sunday off day. Going to church and all that kind of stuff, letting the body recover. But yeah, excited to talk about some baseball. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, we're all geeks here. We play the Dynasty Fantasy Sports, right? So these are your guys who I stay away from the DSL, these Dominican, 16, 17-year-olds. Tim loves it. John's more in the major league focus. That sounded wrong, but John is more in the major league.
16-year-olds. I love the 16-year-old boys.
Yeah, you gotta relax with that.
Islands.
This guy's Travis is still just barely out of teens, man. Despite him being 6'6". What are you at now, sir? You're 6'6", and how's the recovery going in terms of muscle building? You doing all right?
Yeah, I feel like physically I've been pretty good the last couple years. I'm still around the 220, 225 range. I think the focus now is how I move. It's not getting stronger. It's not getting faster. Those are all good things, but you can't access it if you're not moving well.
And so speaking of which, I mean, I guess that's a kind of interesting translation. Let's just slow down. Everyone wants to get to how are you doing right now? How are you doing with your recovery? And, how does it feel like to be an absolute, stud prospect? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? Bring it back. Where did it all begin, brother? You came from Round Rock, Texas. I guess, can you tell us a story or a thought of where it kind of started clicking, whether it started with a dream to be a ball player or this was just something that came naturally, and when was there a moment where you genuinely thought I can be in the show?
I mean, it all kind of started with literally playing pickup baseball at the, elementary school field when I was 10 years old. Me and my friends, we'd just go up there, and that's we were trying to be like the Sandlot kids. We loved the movie. We just I just love the game, and I remember just going up there every day and playing, and all the other sports I played at the time. I just didn't want to do them. I just always wanted to play baseball, and it just grew. And the day I just started playing baseball, kind of like every kid, I was like this is going to be what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a baseball player. There was never any sort of what's the backup plan. And I always wanted to be a hitter though. I really wasn't really into pitching much. Just because of the injuries and stuff. I was like, I don't want to deal with that. And so I was playing shortstop. And then as my sophomore year of high school, um, I was in a really bad hitting slump and I wasn't even in the lineup, but they used me as a closer because I had a strong arm and I threw really hard. I started the year as a sophomore. I was in like the low 90s, which was good, but it wasn't like anything crazy. And once we got into playoffs, they started throwing me in as a closer. And I remember like first round of playoffs, I hit 95. Second round of playoffs, I hit 96. And then third round of playoffs, I hit 97 against like the biggest the biggest school that we just wanted to beat. It was Lake Travis in Texas, huge school, like big name. And it was like a one-run game. I went in there to close it and close the door up to 97. And that was when I knew like not only like I was gonna, probably get drafted, but I knew that that's when I
Just
needed to focus
all
on pitching.
all fastballs.
No, I mean that's how Texas high school baseball is. It's actually pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
most of the guys you can fire in fastballs, but I was mixing up everything.
So you had it.
From
When
the
did you
beginning.
realize you could throw that ball way harder than everybody else? How old were you?
Like I said, it was probably that year.
Yeah. Okay.
I was throwing hard going into it, but I gained like 4 or 5 miles an hour throughout the season.
At
I love
least you
so that's
figured
about
that
that's
out.
about 15 or 16 years old, and I think you just said, um, unfortunately, I was throwing only a little bit more than Justin Steele, Cy Young contender, as a mid teenager. But don't worry, I got better. That's fantastic, man. I
Yeah,
think that's
at least you figured
definitely a
that out.
moment.
At least you figured that out in high school. Like DeGrom, I think didn't switch from shortstop until like the end of his college career or something like that. So you figured it out pretty early. Round Rock, Texas. Are you Rangers guy or an Astros guy then? As like
Well, let's save him. Let's save him a moment. Were you? It was right
Yeah,
now.
were
He
you?
is
Yeah.
a dyed-in-the-wool Nationals fan, and that'll never change.
Well, so growing up, my mom, she was born and raised in Michigan, so I actually was a Tigers fan. And so like those are the games, as a kid I'd watch all the time. We were big Tigers fans. And then once I got older, I wasn't really like following them much anymore. I really honestly didn't even have a team, to be honest with you. But as a young kid, the Tigers were definitely my team.
That's cool. What do you think about like what are you gonna do? And it's like you, Susana, and Sime all throwing like 100 miles an hour together. Like the Astros had like the killer bees, right? So like,
Dude,
yeah,
yeah.
killer S's. Like, what do you guys got going on there?
Dude, I think it's gonna be fun. I mean, seeing Susanna down here rehabbing with me, I mean, backfield's throwing 103. Like you just don't see that. Like he's obviously his velo is just unreal. And Simi, he's just throws almost as hard. It's crazy. Both those guys, they probably throw it like a little harder than me. So, I got some work to do, but three triple digit arms in the system. It's pretty, we got a lot of arms, honestly, too. So
So, just not sticking around too much longer in this era, but when you said you mixed in other pitches, how much of that was you trying to experiment and see what you could do versus, or maybe you had to do it because some guys were getting pretty good. Texas is not a small state, obviously got good baseball programs, and that versus like, hey, the scouts are gonna watch, and so I need to show them I'm not a one trick pony. Like, what was the maybe rough percentage of that in your head?
I think it just goes back to like the place that kind of taught me how to be at the time a thrower and a pitcher, throwing from shortstop and pitching. It was the Texas Baseball Ranch. I still work with those guys still to this day, but they're just really good at what they do. And at a young age, it was like it wasn't just focusing on throwing hard. It wasn't just focusing on just mechanics. It wasn't just focusing on the pitch grips, and all that stuff. It was everything as a whole. And so I think that's just how I learned how to pitch, was just from those guys. And it was like the whole package. And I think at the time I had the same pitches that I still have now, which slider and splitter. I couldn't throw a changeup, but I actually learned the splitter from my dad's a firefighter, and one of his firefighter buddies played like indie ball way back in the day. And we just messed around in the firehouse bay throwing a splitter. And so I was like, all right, like, that's what I'm gonna throw.
That's cool. So I was wondering, like, did you have like a favorite pitcher when you were growing up too? Like, was there like a guy who you're like, that's the guy that I want to be like?
still to this day, it's Nolan Ryan. I've always looked up to him. Texas pitcher, throws hard, righty, like just kind of what you expect coming out of Texas. So I've always looked up to him. I actually got to meet him before my first spring training in pro ball, and it was awesome. Just like picking that guy's brain, the things he said, and just like hearing his voice, and just being in the room with like the guy that you look up to was just so sick.
And what if you had to remember one line, one piece of advice that he gave you? What sticks out?
With him, it was his work ethic. I remember he told me like, I remember him saying, "Yeah, I ran sprints on these days," and it was like 4 days a week. And I was like, "Well, what'd you do for sprints?" He's like, "Oh, I'd run 30 forward and 10 backwards." I'm like, "That's a lot." Like 40 total sprints and just all the work he put in. But he was like, obviously everyone's different, and the way he goes about it was his own unique way. But he just like blended everything together so well and really knew what he was doing. He wasn't just, overworking and just being reckless. Like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I
What
think
kinds of things when you're rehabbing are you like able to do? Like what kind of like workouts and stuff to like obviously you can still run around and stuff like that, but like what are you not allowed to do basically that like would make you mad that you couldn't do? And then like what are like some things that maybe you weren't doing as much? And
And
then because you kind of had, were forced to because you couldn't do your normal program, like what do you actually like what kind of workouts did you like discover that you actually like doing now?
So obviously in the early phases of rehab, you can't do anything. So I'd say the first like couple months it was just movement stuff, like really light workouts. But it was pretty quick after surgery when I realized or when they let you get back to your lifts. As far as the lifts, like I'm, lifting similar to how I always have. As far as my routine, that's honestly something that's changed in a good way. I've always been just, because idolizing Nolan Ryan, I was always big on like throwing more and like just doing a ton of stuff, like hours and hours of work every day. And that's like one thing that I said after like, I posted and announced that I had Tommy John. I was like, I'm gonna work smarter than ever. And so going through this process, I've learned so much about how to like manage your workload in every aspect of training. And like actually looking at myself and being like, okay, like here's where I'm at, and this is what I actually need to do to improve, not just like, oh, well, this type of training method is good, so let me do that. Like, no, like that only gets you so far. You got to really dial in on what you need.
so you had Tommy John, like you mentioned, that was about a year ago. I've always wondered how many weeks or months does it take for you to even be allowed to pick up a ball and throw again? And what's like the general pathway toward getting to where you are now? I think you threw a full bullpen in July or something. Just kind of take us through the timeline of all that.
Yeah, so it's the first 24 months you can't, or not 24 months, 24 weeks
Okay.
you can't throw. I think it was like week 22 I started doing some like plyo balls. And the way the Nats have handled this, it's been great. It's just not, just like it's not basic. Like there's like blends into everything and like a really good ramp up. So like we started with just like light plyos, like throwing into the pad, and then that got into catch play, the 5 ounce. That was kind of the longest phase. Is just like because I'm a long toss guy, so like building up into long toss. We really took our time in that. Once I felt like on long toss and like flat ground, like I felt like my velo was good. Then we moved into the bullpens. I've been throwing bullpens for quite a while now. Like at first it's, nice and smooth, kind of feeling it out. And then, lately I've been up to like throwing as hard as I ever have in a bullpen, and like, it feels good and stuff. But then yeah, then lives should be starting here soon in a few weeks.
Is it
Did they
really
have you?
discouraging when you get the news and that happens? I mean, is it tough mentally? I'm sure it is, but how's that? Is it hard to stay positive about it? Losing a year, you could say, off your young career?
Um, at first it was just like, it just hits you like a truck. It's like, holy crap. Like, I've my whole career I was just working hard. I've like the way I went about everything was to prevent this from happening, like
Yeah.
and so when you hear the news, it's almost like, man, like it's just kind of like the way I took it was I work insanely hard and I put so much time in. I think I do things right, but like, if you're not like training the right way, like it's gonna eventually catch up to you. And so that's why whenever I heard the news, I was like, I gotta start working smarter. I can't just keep working harder. I need to work smarter. And that's when it changed. But I was obviously, it hit me pretty hard. But the next day it was like, all right, like, you know, like I got a lot of stuff to work on, because I came off the hip surgery and I was like, that thing was still not fully back to normal. And so like all that stuff combined, just like working at like everything that I needed to.
Did they have you in West Palm the whole time, or did they say like, "Hey, go hang out wherever until like until we can actually, like whenever you can actually start doing stuff?"
So I had surgery last August, and then I was here in Florida for 6 weeks. Then I stayed home like for the whole off season, and then came back for spring training. And since spring training, I've been I've been here.
Yeah, so they work pretty close with you then, like the full recovery. It's kind of like, do you have like people that are like, okay, these are your, they're with you every day trying to get you back to 100, basically, like
Oh
a
yeah,
team or something?
yeah, and as y'all know, like the Nats, the whole staff, like staff members have changed, so like a bunch of new faces in here, but they've been great. It's just like a great way how they look at everything, just more like up to date with everything instead of just like old school ways. And so there's, there's obviously, when you're a professional baseball player, there's eyes on you, like as far as from the team, like no matter what you do, because they want to make sure you're doing the right stuff. So yeah, there's people, everyone's doing their part, that's for sure.
That's cool. What's the plan to get you back into game action then? Is that coming soon?
Yeah, I think the fall league is probably gonna happen, so that'll be exciting.
Nice.
Oh, nice. That's cool. When do you already know that, or do you
Um,
have to like, are you not allowed to say something like about like if you're
we
invited or
we've
not
we've
yet?
talked about it, just kind of like the expectations, like you can, be like a rehab athlete for so long, but we get paid to compete, and if I'm healthy, like let's go compete. So
Awesome.
So with that in mind, has there been any moments either at the beginning or maybe closer to now in terms of, in the beginning, you're like, this feels like forever. Dude, I was just getting so much buzz. Everyone was talking about, we can't let that slip. Get me back out there right away. And they said, slow your roll. Or maybe is it now, where you're like, I can just see it going two ways. Whereas, because it'd just be so frustrating knowing you're so close where you're like, I feel like I could go out there. But at the same time, you're like, I do not want to do this again. So where are you at in terms of that? And was there any even kind of like light stuff, quick passing things where you and the staff were like, maybe let's just do it this way?
I think as far as where we're at now, it's like looking at the whole picture. Like I said, you got to compete and get back into that. I think, you know, after showing where my velo was and my bullpens, I think we were like, okay, like I'm ready to go. And I think, but I think also like there's a fine line between just going and just like just pitching versus actually like because there are things I still need to work on. Things that I've been working on for a couple years. So I think just playing that fine line of like going to compete, but then also like getting ready for this off season because this off season for me is huge. Like I have a lot of stuff I want to work on, and I think going into next year, I expect myself to be like way better than I've ever been. So,
Are you thinking of adding any other pitches to your three pitch mix that you currently rock?
no, not right now. My stuff is I'm just sticking with that as of now. I like where it's at, especially in the bullpens. I feel like, especially my splitter, I feel like that's even better now. Slider, I feel like it's the same thing. I have a good feel for it. Can kind of like put it where I want. It's just the biggest thing right now is the delivery itself. Coming off the hip surgery a couple years ago and the hip injury, like that's been the biggest project in my opinion is putting those mechanics back together.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, like, are you like, is it like how many times are you throwing before you go back and you're like watching video to make sure, oh yeah, like I'm in sync before you like go
I
and
yeah,
throw more?
I video every day, pretty much every bullpen. Um, like I said, that's my number one goal right now is to get those mechanics back to where they were. I mean, back in high school, because my hip issue started, dating back all the way to 2022 area code. Like as a high school player, like I remember pitching and I was throwing 100 and I went out for like the last inning and I was warming up and I was like, oh my gosh, like what is that in my hip? Like it feels like something in there. And then it just kind of like started popping up more often And then I like went throughout my whole like senior year of high school, just I don't even know how like no one knew and stuff. Like my stuff was definitely down quite a bit. It was really frustrating. It was like I was just babying my hip, just using my quad. And going into my first pro year, I quite literally changed my mechanics to like avoid any sort of like hip IR, and like the proper position of like sitting in that hip to like drive off the mound. Just had to like basically just hopping off the mound. Velo was down my first year. I pitched good, and that's how I learned how to pitch, was just, not having like my best velo and my best stuff. And then, that year I was like, all right, after the season, I was like, I gotta get this hip fixed, and got it fixed. And then since then, like, it's been feeling great. Like, I have no pain at all or anything, but the fact that I went on it for so long, like compensating around it, it's been a slow process as far as like getting back the feel, but I finally feel like it's slowly, like I'm just starting to like kind of get it back again.
So when was that? When was that fixed up?
The hip was in October of 24.
Yeah, man, I have a theory as to why nobody was too concerned about it or thought something was wrong. Because here's your pro debut: 2.33 ERA with a 13.7 K9. I'm old school. I'm a dinosaur. I do K9 still, brother. And then a 2.9 walks. Walks per nine. I think those are fantastic numbers, and everyone was probably like, "No, you're fine. It couldn't be that bad." So it's exciting. I remember you came out the next season, crushing it even harder, and doing some really great numbers up to high A. And then fortunately, you had the second challenge, a series of challenge coming your way. But yeah, I think it's very. I think people forget that because the TJ, it kind of blots out the sun a little bit in people's minds. But to hear you say that it went back all the way to 2022. I mean, again, just to translate to the average Joe listening who's dumb like me, like that means you were not able to even develop, like your development, as you said, you were overcompensating in other areas to get it done, just to get the job done, to tough through it. And so, like, again, your elite numbers and the trajectory you could be on could be on an even higher level. And this is the way we talk about you when you're not in the room. It's kind of more fun when you're here.
Yeah, I mean that's the way I look at it too. And I am like very thankful and grateful that I have been able to perform, like going through all the battles of the hip and stuff. But it's just like I always, the reason I'm so motivated, because if I just combine like the delivery and like the physical side of things that I had back in high school with the pitchability I've learned now, like it's just like I'm so excited to see it like just happen, and that's why I'm doing everything I can to just get that right.
Without getting too bogged down in that too long, I wanted to before we let
Yeah.
this slide, I want to get this in there. At what how critical was it? Because again, you went on the roller coaster ride of people are taking notice. It's happening. Yeah, baby. Just like we drummed it up. Just like it was on the, just like it was all planned out. Just like it was all meant to be, baby. How important was your spiritual life when that came crashing down?
Yeah, I mean, I know after the hip surgery, I said like, all right, I told my family I'm using this time to, grow even stronger in my faith, get closer, even closer to God. And it was like quite a while, I was, really prioritizing it. And then I get back from, the hip surgery, I'm back in games. And like, once again, baseball just like goes back to the top. And that's once again, like the number one thing. And so it's funny because the week I tore my elbow, our I tore my elbow, and like I would go to like chapel and stuff on Sundays, like if it like fit into my schedule. If I had to like warm up for like throwing or something, I would put baseball first. And then so I hurt my elbow, I couldn't throw, and then that week I was at chapel, and I remember thinking to myself like, it's funny how I'm here when I don't have baseball. Like it's funny how I prioritize my faith when I don't have baseball. And the story that day was about the man who like approached Jesus, and he's like, how can I basically be accepted by you and enter your kingdom? And he said like, follow my commandments. And he said, I've kept your commandments since I was a child. And then Jesus is like, you lack one thing, like sell everything you own and follow me. And then it said the man walked away sad. And it like reminded me of myself so much, like, you know, like just like good morals and all that stuff is obviously great. But like you like that baseball was like that guy's money for me, and it was just like that one thing I just couldn't get rid of. I always prioritized it, and now I'm a year out from TJ, and I I do everything I can like just remember that moment and like what I learned and apply that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, life is fleeting. Your career is a very small part of the big picture, especially when you consider eternity. So it should be good to keep the bigger picture in mind for all of us, but especially pro athletes. You have such a small window to accomplish your goals, right? You don't tweet or post on X or whatever very much. Hat tip, good idea. But you don't have to scroll very far to see Romans 12:2. And since you were talking a little bit about that, Romans 12:2, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. A pretty key Christian verse. What's that mean to you? Why is that one the one you post, and what does that mean in the context of your very interesting life?
I think just the reason like I that's for years now that's been my favorite verse. I mean, with the way the world is, social media, like, that's been a big part of this, but like, everyone wants more. Everybody, like, just like seeking approval of people on earth rather than the approval of God. So that's why I always like, I try to put that verse everywhere because it's like in the verse, do not conform to the ways of the world. Like, we're not made to fit in on earth, we're made to fit in heaven. And so, like, if you're here on earth, falling for the traps of the ways of the world to fit in with other people, like it only lasts so long. And like we got to do our part of saving people from that.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's an excellent mindset. You're going to put yourself in a position of success just based on living off of that mindset. So, I had a quick back to the baseball question for you because I've keep reading and seeing guys when they get to AAA, they kind of run into issues because it's a different baseball. Because the AAA baseball and the Major League Baseball, I guess, is different slightly than the other baseball that you guys are throwing. Until that point, like, are you throwing with both baseballs now just to try to like get used to it? Because so many guys, I feel like now, when right when they get they can be dominating Double A or whatever, and then right when they
Kate
get to
Anderson.
Triple A, it's like the command, like Carson Milbrand. There's an example right there. It's like all of a sudden the command goes out the window, and they're like, "Whoa, this other baseball's throwing me off. The seams are different, whatever." So like, is there anything that you guys in the Nationals organization are doing to try to like prepare for that transition of the baseball?
Nothing like put into place, but I know, like with me, like I'll throw with like different baseballs. Like obviously in bullpens, I'll stick with the minor league ones right now, but like just playing catch or like, doing my throwing drills, like I'll use major league balls sometimes. Sometimes I'll use minor league balls, like basically be as adaptable as I can. Like that's a big part of my training as far as like something I'm working on is being as adaptable as possible, whether like the footing or the ball or whatever.
And they are different for sure, and you can notice that throwing it.
Um, Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels different. I mean, the major league ball feels like a rock, and then the minor league ball is a lot softer, which probably why it goes a lot further. But the laces are there's definitely a difference in the laces. But like I haven't thrown a bullpen with them, so I guess like I couldn't tell you as far as the
Yeah.
stuff, but as far as like the feel of it, like it hasn't bothered me in catch
It's
play
in
and all that.
it's in the news today because Kate Anderson comes from Double A to
Yeah.
MLB last night, and his like vertical movement on the fastball moved down, and some people are guessing that it's about the baseball. I mean, it seems like a disadvantage. I didn't really buy into that, but to hear you say that, like, is that kind of an expectation that the certain types of break on the ball might change when you're using the major league ball?
I haven't heard a whole lot of people talk about it,
Yeah.
but I'm guessing that's obviously why they use it in AAA because there is like it definitely feels different. Like it doesn't feel the same,
Okay.
that's for sure.
You talk about the
And there
draft
could also
talk.
be that human element, right? Of he's in the show,
Yeah.
he's getting a little nervous, right? Things aren't maybe flowing the same way they were
Yeah.
yesterday, right? And so there's
Yeah.
that element.
Yeah, I mean, it's one outing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of the color commentator. These guys are the nerds. John's the ultimate geek. This guy runs a bunch of data and all that.
Here's a good example for you. I'm gonna ego pad you right here. So we have a model called F scores that John and I have developed, and there's a statistic called F stuff, and the way it works is kind of like WRC plus. So like 100 is league average, and it's all weighed back against whatever division or league you're playing in. So if you're in Double A, then it's weighing you back against only the other pitchers in your Double A league, right? And you had a 140 something F stuff, and the next best guy It was actually two guys who were at 128, and that was Chase Burns and and Harlan Susano. So you were like by far the number one player in our model as far as stuff, and it wasn't even close in the minor leagues before your injury, like by like 12% or something like that.
42% strikeout rate.
And look how Chase Burns has been.
I mean,
So,
strikeout,
I definitely like y'all's model, then that's for sure. Because every other model, like going through the draft, every model hated me. So
let's talk about the draft. 3rd round pick. Did you think that was right, or were you thinking you were 1st or 2nd or later? What was that like?
I mean, yeah, going into it, I was, based on like mock drafts and stuff, supposed to go like back into the 1st round or like comp round. Now I get like with high school arms, like teams will like save those players for their 2nd pick. But so I thought like, I remember like making like my little sheet as far as like what I like money I'd take for like different teams and different like accounting and all that stuff. And I had it only going back to like the mid 2nd round because I was like, there's no way I get past the mid 2nd round. And sure enough, I slide out of day 1. Extremely humbling, that's for sure. Thinking that like the worst part about it was I had family come in. I had my high school team there. We had a draft party. We had the news there because I was like for sure gonna be a day 1 pick in my mind. And like it goes by so fast. I watch the draft now every year, and it's not the same. But when you're in it, like once they get to the 2nd round, like you're sweating, your heart's beating fast, and the picks are just flying by, and your agent calls you to tell you that nothing's going on, like no teams are calling, and you go back inside and then they're like 20 picks deeper and you're like, holy smokes, like what is happening? And but yeah, it was frustrating. But it really motivated me my 1st year. I'm not going to name any names, but there are a lot of high school guys that I competed against, that I faced, that were hitters that went above me in the draft. And I would just out of nowhere, just take it to a whole nother level and just like murder those guys. And I was so mad. And I was like, I was so motivated. Like I've never been more motivated from anything other than that in my life. I mean, I remember like making a sheet on my phone with like all the pictures of like the team's logos that passed on me that I like thought were going to take me, like based on what they told me. And I would like look at it all the time and just think about that stuff. And looking back at it now, it's cool, it gives me some motivation, not just like, oh, because my goal was to be a day 1 pick. It was like a huge goal and it didn't happen. So like, I'm never going to forget it. And every time now, like, especially when I face like teams that I thought were going to take me, that like basically said they were going to take me, like, I just take it all out on them.
So a few things here. First of all, I love this, man. This is it. I could just sense this chip on your shoulder because 1 second he's a choir boy, right? He's the nicest guy. We're talking about Bible verses, but the Bible doesn't say be a coward. Doesn't say have low testosterone. It says go outside, go out there and buy a sword, baby. Let's go. When the time is right. And
not literally.
Yeah, and I what?
Not literally on the sword.
We can debate that another time.
Right.
But it's time and a place, right? Sometimes you need a sword. And so we don't want any confirmation here, but I just thought it would be really fun to go see what Texas high school, Kendall George and Bryce Mitchell, a couple Texas high school boys you might have played against. We're not going to need any confirmation or denial there, man. But I'd rather have you on my dynasty squad. I'll tell you what, both couple good baseball players, but I think the ranks favor you there, sir. I will say this as well one more time. This is a crazy draft that you were in. Like you hopefully in hindsight you're aware of this now. The Skeens draft, Skeens, Clark, Langford. These are some really good guys at the top. And hey, man, you got that day 1 money. I'm happy, and again, everything happens for a reason with God, right? So it's perfect. Maybe he knew you needed a chip on your shoulder, but this is exciting, man. It's so fun to hear from your perspective. Again, expectations versus reality. You can forgive, but don't forget, right?
Yeah, and like you said, it all worked out, and I'm super grateful it did. Like I said, looking back at it now, everything is pretty much the same. Besides, I was picked in the 3rd round versus day 1. Like that's the only difference. So.
Have you pitched against any big leaguer, or like is there anyone that you like that you pitched against on a rehab where you were like, oh man, I can't believe against this guy. I'm like, I've got to strike him. Where you're like, I've got to strike him out. I can't. A ground ball is unacceptable. I have to strike this guy out.
As far as like big leaguers, say it again. You kind of cut out. Sorry.
Yeah. Are there any big leaguers that you face on rehab assignments who you were like super pumped to face?
Oh yeah. So last year I is my high A debut. I faced Colton Cowser, and like, I mean, he's a big leaguer, dude. Like, the only way I was really just like trying to play mind games with him because I was like, yeah, that's the only way I can get him out. Like, he sees like crazy stuff all the time, and that's how I pitch too. Like, I'm not gonna talk about what I do, but like, there's like these mind games I play, and like just like convincing hitters of other like expectations of what's about to come, and just like throwing them completely off. And I remember when I faced him, like I went really hard in on that. And I remember when my catcher at the time told me when he struck out, he told my catcher, he's like every pitch I was expecting to get, what I got like the opposite every time. So I was like, okay, if that's good. That means I'm sequencing the way I should. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's interesting, especially 3 pitches. You have to really play like zones and stuff like that because like there are guys like I think like I was like writing a Michael Ferret thing today, and he's got like 7 pitches. It's ridiculous. You Darvish Jr. over there, right? So like 3 pitches, you really have to play zones and like move, like figure. Okay, you can't just go high fastball all the time, right? There are dudes who only throw their
yeah,
fastball right now.
I think like manipulating pitches based on like righties and lefties and stuff, like that's one thing that I'd like really work hard on, is like being able to like manipulate my slider, like throwing different shapes to lefties versus righties. Cause I don't know, like, and even depending on the hitter too, like you got to have feel. Like the best pitchers in the game, they all have feel. They're not just robots. They're not just, throwing a pitch based on like, what makes the most sense. Like you got to have feel. And I feel like that's something I've learned a lot about by watching, like it's funny enough, like Trevor Bauer's pitch by pitch breakdown videos. My first year of pro ball, that's how I learned how to pitch. Every day I just come home and watch his sequencing and like the mind games he plays and all that stuff, and I learned a lot from that.
Can we talk about stats now, Doc?
Yeah. I was actually about to walk you into that.
Okay.
I don't want you to miss that moment, brother. I know that's the big one. I was just gonna say real quick. There's something I just remembered having to deal with, man, with your profile, because people they would read your blurb on MLB.com and that was it. So they make Sykora, he's so cool because he hit 100 miles an hour, 101 miles an hour. I'm like, listen, the fastball looks really good, but I think his other pitches are actually grading out even better. What does that mean, right? Like, I think we got a problem here. He's going to be that's 3+ pitches, baby. And then maybe that's a segue for John here, because that's the way I talk. John's about to say some like numbers.
Well, that's good. I'll roll on that. The fastball velo, if it's 1985 and you can throw 99, 100, you're good. You're good to go, right? But nowadays, like big league hitters see it every day. How important are the secondaries? Are you really focused on the shape of the fastball rather than just the velo, all that stuff? That's a pretty. I have more specific questions, but talk about that, like pitching in the context of, okay, 100's not that impressive to big league hitters anymore.
Yeah. I mean, you're spot on with that. Like, there's nobody who really can just blow hitters by with velo besides like Mizorowski. Like, he's probably the only one. I mean, even Susano, like, throws 103 and still has some mixed stuff in there. So like, for me, I guess it kind of goes back to having feel. You got to know, like, especially when you're a guy who throws hard, like hitters are going to be geared up for the velo. Like, I mean, everyone says like when you're someone who throws 100, like they're not going to be able to sit, like in between a off speed and a fastball. So like just being able to recognize that people are geared up for heaters, and like I don't know, like not really giving them that pitch when they want it. Like that's a big a big part of it. Like as far as that, and then with like the fastball shape, kind of like what I said earlier, like the delivery. My best shapes and metrics are all like in like direct correlation to like me moving well, and so that's another reason why I'm so focused on getting those mechanics right, because when you're staying behind the ball and staying through it like you should, like you're gonna get those good shapes.
So you're getting those numbers. If you do a bullpen, are they taking those numbers, seeing your vert was this, whatever you want to call it? I mean, are you looking at numbers after every bullpen, or not so much?
Yeah, we have in our bullpens a like TV screen right behind the mound. So like every pitch you can look at the metrics. and that's something they've been talking about lately is like getting that fastball to have that consistent like carry to it. And there will be times I'll throw and I'll feel like I'm, kind of reverting back to my old bad habits, like with like the hip stuff. And then like our guys will be like, we'll talk about the shapes and I'll be like, I know exactly what I need to do. And I just like think of a mechanical cue and then boom, like there's the ride right there.
Yeah, I think Tim. I was gonna say Nolan Ryan probably wouldn't know what you were talking about if you brought this back to him, right? But I don't know. Tim, you wanna chime in on this? You're a pitch movement shape guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, Travis has like a crazy splitter, and like the splitter is infamously hard to command. For you, is that pitch like, is that something where it's just natural to you because you're like you said you found it at like at the fire station. You just so like does that pitch just come naturally to command to you, or do you still have times where you're like I just don't really have it as well as I would like today, and then you're like find yourself going more fastball slider just because maybe you're like I don't have the feel today or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great question because back in high school, it was like I could manipulate that thing and throw it wherever I wanted to before all the hip stuff. Everything was just in sync, and I could get on top of the ball. I wasn't like spinning off the side of it. And then I have the hip problem in 2024, and there were games where I throw it 3 times because like sometimes my hip would be so bad where like I just couldn't get on top of the ball. I'm just spinning off of it, and so like I just had no control over it, and I just stick like mostly fastball slider. And then last year, it took like a huge step forward because I got the hip fixed. And I threw it a lot more last year. And then now that I've made my mechanics, like got them a lot better, like I said, my splitter's better this year right now than it even was last year. So it's like just constantly getting better. And I feel like for me, it's like, not dropping my slot too much and getting on the side of the ball. Like obviously the splitter, you got to get on top of it and stay through it. So, but yeah, right now, like I feel like I mean, I've thrown it like, for a month now, and I feel like I have better command of it than I did last year.
Still seems
Yeah,
like Kevin Gaussman is the example for me of like sometimes he's dominant. The nights he has the splitter, he's great. And then sometimes you just don't have the splitter, I guess. I mean, is that kind of just what you talked about, like something physical, or it's just a really hard pitch to locate? And or any thoughts? Because that will probably be an issue sometimes with you. Have you thought about ways to combat that or anything like that?
Yeah, I think for everyone it's different. For me though, like I said, it's just a consistency of how I'm moving because, 24 and I'm moving different every pitch. Like it's hard to just like because basically the splitter you got to kind of like aim towards the center of the catcher because those things like will move all over the place. Like it's a nasty pitch, it'll have some like crazy movement sometimes. So like being able to like be consistent with like your delivery, for me at least, it's everything. Like the more consistent I am with those mechanics, like all I gotta do is just aim towards the center of the catcher and it's just gonna drop right below the zone every time. So
And hitters will think it's a fastball, and that's why they get so fooled.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, I
Yeah.
think with me, like making sure I excel that arm speed, in high school, I was threw so hard, so where I didn't really need to focus on it, but I would just, flip sliders in there with a slow arm. But now in pro ball, like I think with my off speed, like something I really focus on is like selling the arm speed. Like the hitter sees my arm moving that fast, they're like, okay, here comes 99, and then it's an 82-mile-an-hour splitter, and no chance.
Do you have when you're throwing in the lab there, do you have like something for arm tunneling, like to show you how well you're tunneling your pitches together?
They have all like the Edgetronic cameras and stuff that
Yeah.
show all that stuff. I mean, it's like extreme slow motion, so you can see all that, and they'll compare them. I know, like last year, they were doing a little bit of that with me, with the splitter actually. But yeah, I think that is like an important thing when we do focus on.
What about celebrations? Since you look at some Trevor Bauer videos, are you gonna get a sword in sometime on someone or?
No, I'm not that guy. I'm just, I think at the end of the game, like I'll like scream something or something like that. But yeah, like I just get locked in and I'm not trying to,
No,
distract
you don't want to be
myself
the
or
next
distract other
Jeffrey
people.
Yon, huh? You don't want to be that guy?
Oh yeah, like that stuff, dude. Like, come on, like what are we doing?
The classic, the ball and ball celebration, and then walk
Yeah,
off the other night. I'm like, all right, this has to be this has honestly. If he
Yes,
keeps it going now I'll be like, okay, now it's impressive. You're
Yeah.
just that
All right,
guy.
Doc, you asked about Jose Iglesias. I know you wanted to get a Jose Iglesias question.
Yeah, I mean, I skipped it earlier, and then the time passed. So I'm really curious. I read this just recently that when Travis Sykora was younger, he always pictured himself as a shortstop, emulating Cuban-born infielder Jose Iglesias, a 12-year vet who recently, this was the quote, I had to actually copy and paste something. So this guy had a fine MLB career, like definitely you're happy it happened, but not super memorable. Can you tell us what that was all about?
Yeah, so kind of going back to being a Tigers fan, like I watched all those games. I was just like every other kid, a Miguel Cabrera fan, and then when Iglesias showed up, like I was a shortstop. I was like I loved fielding. Like defense was like I put so much time to that. I was always taking ground balls. I was trying to like field like a Latin player, like trying to be smooth and like trying to have, good hands. And so like he was a great example of that. Like the dude had crazy hands. And I mean, as soon as I saw him play the first time, I was like this is my guy. And I remember like customizing like a Mizuno glove, the exact same one he had, wearing the same cleats. Like I was trying to be Jose Iglesias, and I was like trying to like copy his swing, copy his defense, and all that stuff. And it was actually I think it was in high school, my senior year. He followed me on Instagram through like a an agency connection, and then he like sent me a message and stuff, and it was just like so cool, like that's the guy you grew up looking up to. And he's messaging. He actually messaged me and he said, "Take it easy on me when you make it to the big leagues." So it was just like such a surreal moment.
But you're 6'6". You can't be that smooth at shortstop being that tall, right?
Oh, that's where people they never see me field. Like if you watch videos of fielding in high school, it was just like, I guess I would surprise a lot of people just because I practiced so much. I mean, all day long, dude, like just taking ground balls. And like I still, for some reason, I have it in me. Like we'll take ground balls here in Florida, and like people will be like actually super surprised because you just don't expect it with being 6'6". But I think it's fun.
So a Gold Glove in your future in the major leagues.
I think I'm definitely capable of it. That's for sure.
I mean, there's gonna be plays like it's gonna come to you, right? There's every so often you get to see who is and who is not a real. I wouldn't say real, but a defensive athlete out there.
If you watch, like whenever I have like a ground ball, like a chopper hit back to me, and it's just like a easy like catch it and flip it to first base, I'll literally like revert to a shortstop and I'll field it and throw like a shortstop. Like if you go back and find videos of me throwing ground balls, or if you see me do it in the future, like every time I'll catch it and throw it like a shortstop. Like every time, it's just
so. Is that something you're mindful of actually with that in mind? Because I mean, I'm mid-30s now. I remember being 22 and my metabolism back then. 6'6", baby, you could be up there and like in good shape at like 250 or higher. Maybe it gives you a little even more velo. But is that something you actually would like to maybe push against just so you keep that flexibility? How do you feel about that in terms of your frame filling out?
I mean, I'm definitely like really happy with where I'm at now, because my senior year of high school, I went from like 220 to like 235. I got way bigger, like, and lost a ton of mobility. I was still moving well for like the range I had, but my mobility was just like I lost so much, like hip shoulder separation, like hip mobility. Then my hip became a problem. So I don't know. I feel like at 225, like I'm not gonna, I guess, think about putting on any more muscle until I'm like 100% back to moving like I used to.
Yeah, you can have that. You can have that 250, 260 season, like when you're 40 years old. The Hall of Fame's calling. You're just Justin Verlander in it out there, right? Whatever you got to do, brother. Just have a couple cheeseburgers before the game.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that guy. I couldn't do that.
Well, it's too early to say.
Bartolo Colon if you're pitching in your 40s still.
What 2024, Travis? I want to ask you what kind of stats do pitchers evaluate themselves on now? So let me give you like 5, and you tell me which one you look back on and to use as an evaluation of that season. 85 innings, 2.33 ERA, 0.91 WHIP, 39% strikeout rate, 8.2% walk rate. Which one of those do you pay the most attention to? Do you care the most about? Or if it's something else, tell us.
Me personally, I look at WHIP. I mean, how many guys are you allowing on base? Like that's your fault. And then strikeouts. I mean, it's like home runs as a hitter. Like that's how this game's going to now. You got to strike guys out. So those two stats right there. that like every time I go to like see how someone's doing, I look at their whip and I look at their strikeout percentage.
Me
So,
too, man. Me too. K rate or K per nine? Doc's a K per nine guy. I think that's wrong.
just usually just K percent strikeout percentage.
That's correct.
I don't look at K per nine.
Correct.
I'm not like a huge stats guy, to be honest with you. Like I don't
Oh.
Yes,
even, like,
we're back on now. We were not friends, and now we're friends again.
well, even like the metrics and stuff, like people like this probably isn't good to say, but like people ask me all the time, like, oh, what's your metrics on your slider? I'm like, I don't even know, dude. Like, I guess that's might be a good thing, like right now that I'm not like caught up in it. But like I said, I try to base everything off of feel. But as far as stats though, like whip and strikeout percentage, that's for sure.
Do you want ground balls? Is that important to you, or not so much?
I want strikeouts.
Yeah. So you'll
Yeah.
you'll throw up in the zone a little bit and trade some fly balls for some extra strikeouts.
That's the way. So, what about goals for the future? Like, do you have like a target date of like when you're like, I want to be in the majors by like this, this time period or whatever? Or do you have like a
Let's
date you're
do a
shooting
few things.
for?
Let's do short term, like something like that, and then let's do like medium term, like do you now, and then long term. Do you have like your baseball goals in MLB, brother? Let's hear some of them.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, like the way I look at everything is, um, it sounds like something like something somebody else like always says, but to me it's just being the best that I possibly can. Because if I know, and like deep down inside I know, if like physically I'm the best I can possibly be, pitchability I'm the best I can possibly be, like all the accolades and goals like are gonna like just take care of themselves. That's kind of how my first couple years of pro ball were, like going through the hip stuff, like that's all I cared about, which is like perfecting my mechanics, perfecting my efficiency. And like never once, I didn't even like really know those awards in minor league baseball were a thing. And like you see you win one, and like yeah, that's awesome and stuff. So like people ask me that all the time, and it's like not, it's I guess it is a boring answer, but like 'cause you see people like in the draft and stuff, and like, oh, my goal is to be a Hall of Famer, and it's like, okay, cool, but like how are you gonna get there, And like for me, it's looking at myself and figuring out how I can get quite literally everything out of what I'm capable of. Because if I'm 100% capable, like doing what I'm capable of, that's as good as I can get. You can't get any better if you're at your max capability, which no one ever is. But yeah, I think like the awards and stuff, and like making it to the big leagues, and winning awards up there, like it'll take care of itself if I work to become the best I can possibly be.
But like, any idea about an innings? So you threw 45 innings, obviously a lot more, not in game action. But so we're fantasy baseball dynasty bros, right? I don't know if minor leaguers talk about that. I think if you would look up your name on X or something like that, it would probably be a lot of us dudes sitting at home with our kids playing dynasty baseball talking about you. But what we want to know is how many innings can this guy throw next year after Tommy John? Is that, you don't have to answer the question if it's inappropriate, but what's the general pattern after Tommy John for the building back up to try to get 160 plus innings down the road?
Yeah, I actually honestly I don't even know what the innings plan is for next year. And that's the truth. We haven't even talked about that yet. I'm sure next year, going into the year, we'll talk about it. I do know like guys coming off, TJ and stuff, like there is like a limit. I don't know exactly what it is. I think they said it has to do with like when you got hurt, how many innings you were at when you got hurt, like what you've done in the past. There's a lot of things go into it, like kind of where you're at the time. So.
Yeah, 85 is that's a good debut for a youngster. Man, that's you started off at a good level, so hopefully that'll help you going forward. You crack that.
Yeah, and that first year too, I was in extended spring training. I threw like 10 10 to 15 innings in extended spring training, and then we had playoffs too. So I think that year I got up to like 105 and actually in like actual innings. So that was another thing. I wanted to get 100 innings my first year, and I did, but like they were extended spring training games. Like, well, I missed the first month of the season. So
There's a lot of people talking about like, oh, if you throw at max effort, your fastball at max effort, you're more likely to get hurt and get Tommy John, right? That's like a kind of like a hot topic right now.
Yeah.
So when you're coming back from Tommy John, like what are they telling you? Are they telling you, hey, you can throw 90%, you can throw 95, like don't hit 100 yet? Like what kind of things are they telling you about like not, to not push you too hard, too fast when you're coming back?
Yeah, I mean, there's guidelines. Dr. Meister, the famous TJ surgeon, he knows what he's doing, and he has the guidelines laid out. Like, at this phase, your velo needs to be at this range. Like, if you're if you throw this hard, this is where your velo should be at each range. So it's obviously like a really slow build up. I guess I'm kind of at the point now where I'm like, I'm not having to like hold back anymore.
Yeah.
But no, like, a lot of people talk about like what causes injuries, and people have all these everyone has their own opinion, but the truth is like everyone's throwing harder, and that's how the game is. So you can't just like tell everyone to throw slower, but like that's why people get hurt. Like everyone's throwing 97 and stuff, and it's just the truth is it's just more stress on the arm. And so the best way you can go about it is focusing on moving as efficient as possible. Because if you have a leak in the chain, you're gonna put for me, like last year, my elbow's like hiked up when I'm throwing. Like that's not a good move, and it just puts it in a vulnerable position to get hurt. So like just focusing on that stuff, on how you move, is just so important.
So you're personal friends with the Keith Meister, Dr. Meister.
Yep. Yeah, he's pretty good.
He gets a lot of work, I
Yeah.
guess.
Friends. Yeah.
We do a lot of dry humor on this podcast. That was a classic John dry humor moment with Travis Sykora.
The Keith Meister.
Speaking about friends, let's get a quick one. We'll wrap this up around an hour here, buddy. You've been giving us some a great chunk of your time. I'm really grateful for it. I always like to ask this. This is good. Do you have any players that come to mind? You mentioned Susanna. Any players on your team or other teams where you played with them or against them in the minor leagues so far in pro ball, and you said that's a dude, that's a guy, someone that you think is you're pretty confident is a major leaguer for years to come, or has some kind of weapon that impressed you?
Yeah. I'll start with one guy that is with us now. I never played with him. I haven't played with him yet, but Alejandro Rosario. He in 2024, dude, was like unreal. We played
Talk about
against him.
strikeout rate. Yeah, he was the
He was
strikeout rate
like
guy.
he was like shoving more than I was, and he was throwing like 98 to 100, like just striking everybody out. And then he obviously had his Tommy John and stuff, and he's building back now. I think I think he's like a guy that stands out, that because I collect baseball cards, so I can like see where people's like values are, and like as far as like with the cards, like I don't think anyone values, like, no, everyone forgot about him, and I think he's going to be really good. And as far as players I played against, someone that I faced my first year and second year, Angel Ganau. I think that's how you say his name. I remember he's obviously in the big leagues now, but
Yeah.
every time I faced him, I was like, this guy's different. Like he's not just like a normal minor league prospect. Like he's gonna be a big leaguer, and he's doing pretty solid up there right now.
Yeah.
Dang it, I overlooked him. I overlooked him every time. The Scout the Stat Line, one of these other models, he was loving him. That was when I first heard about him. I got a question for you. It's about DC. So that's where you want to be, right? So I guess a twofold question. One, are you trying to enjoy? I was there in Indiana. I used to live in Indiana. So Paul Skeens came through, and his deal was he knew that it was AAA, so it's easier for him to say, but he knew his time in the minors was short. So he would like hang out with the fans after and really try to soak it in. How much is the percentage? And I also heard Bryce Eldridge in an interview once basically say like, screw the minor leagues. I've no, for lack of a better term. He's like, I need to be there today. Like really cutthroat. How much is the percentage for you on like enjoying the journey of these, like, these unique, quirky places? Fredericksburg's mascot is a weird purple guy. And then versus like you need to be in the big leagues. And then I guess how excited are you to work in a weird place like DC?
I mean, yeah, dude, I think like going through my career so far, like especially through high school, it was always like, I'm sorry for the draft. I'm sorry for high school to be over. And then you look back at it, you're like, man, like I wish I would have just like soaked it in, and like enjoyed the moment, because it goes by quick. And so like now, like every day I'm just itching to be a big leaguer. Like I just want to I want my debut to happen now. And that's not going to change, but I'm like trying really hard to like, even like right now rehabbing, like, yeah, everyone thinks it sucks, but like I'm trying to even soak in like the memories I make during rehab and stuff. And playing in places like, you go to cool places, and you go to places like, I don't even know, like Salem, Virginia, like stuff like that. It's not the coolest spot, but you soak it in, and you remember, all those memories and stuff. So no matter where I'm playing, I'm always trying to like soak it in and enjoy it, because to be a baseball player, like there's a lot of people who do wish they could be baseball players and they're not. So like to, complain about being in the minor leagues or even to complain about being hurt, like it's just not right. So.
Yeah. Oh, but the second part of that question, did you make it out to any of the 250 events up in DC this year? It's kind of a weird place, right? It's
I would never just say what I would never want to be anywhere near DC. It sounds like
the reason I asked is because I moved here a year ago. I would not have chosen it other than like I said, you have to pay me this much money, and they're like, here you go. And I said, which I guess is kind of the same deal as Travis in a way. He's like, I guess,
yeah. I've only been up there for signing and then for an award. So I haven't even spent much time up there at all, to be honest with you. The closest I've been was Fredericksburg. That was it.
You're going to want to live in Virginia, brother. Trust me. It's better out here, yeah. Because live in Fredericksburg. It's good.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Be careful in DC.
Don't live in the swamp. Yeah. All right. So thanks for coming on, Travis. This was a lot of fun. And we really appreciate you jumping on with us. You gave us a lot of good insight here, and you're the man. So anything that you want to promote, you got any baseball cards you want to sell to anyone or something? Like anything you want to promote real quick?
Break any laws? Break any labor laws?
Any family that has a company you want to pop while you're on the podcast here?
No, all my baseball cards, I've been trying to sell most of them. That's been my little rehab hobby I've been doing. It's kind of fun. So, but no, nothing's for sale right now.
All right. So make sure if you're interested, like John said, Travis isn't posting too much on the X, but you can go follow him. Yours is just Travis Sykora 1, right? Like pretty simple.
Yep.
Yeah, Travis Sykora 1 on the X.
Or just wait a year and a half, and you'll see him in the Nationals rotation, if not sooner.
Let's go hope for a nice MLB season next year, a real one, full one. Because if so, wouldn't shock me to see Travis Sykora in Washington D.C. fall of next year. Let's put that on the calendar, baby. Let's see what happens. Thanks for stopping by, Travis.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
God bless you.
Yeah, that was fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we bring the spree. Prospects, DFS, betting strategy. John's grumpy, Tim scouting like a man possessed. Doc drafting comeback stories better than the rest. But the tools are elite and the content's free. And your fantasy trophy gonna look prestigious.